We're talking to Reverend John L. Murphy, and the topic is troubled youth. And of course, Reverend Murphy has given us some information relative to dealing with troubled youth, primarily as a person who has been involved in mentoring troubled youth for the last many, many years. Of course, Reverend Murphy, let us allow you to pick up where you left off.
Well, you know, Reverend, I was participating in a prison ministry at a church, and a gentleman and I, we had an agency to go to a facility. And at a time when I was dismayed with the work of working with incarcerated youth, I went to this facility one Saturday with my associate and I, and after we had provided some spiritual service and a message was given, a young man walked up to me, and he was under the department, incarcerated there at that particular facility. And he asked did I remember who he was. And I called him by his name. He said, yes, that's right. And evidently the message that we had talked about that day impacted his mind. And he told me that he had wished many years ago that he had listened to some of the things that I had told him when he was at a facility that I had worked at in his youthful years. And I said, yeah, I would have hoped. But naturally, I encouraged him to keep his faith up, that one day that he would get out and he could have a productive life if he worked his program. And I keep focusing on that because that has given me a lasting impact in my heart. It's been quite some time now, and I was young in the field at the time that I worked with that gentleman. And that just goes to show again that we don't know what adult person can affect a young person's life.
That's right.
Could be a teacher, guidance counselor. I can go back to even Cub Scout in my life.
Everybody can. Very good.
And how just somebody having a few hot dogs and sandwiches and us doing a little task for about an hour or two on Saturday, that can help mold the future. You have your fraternities and sororities working with young people now, and the 100 black men and those type of agencies. But before long, there's going to be something that's going on that's going to touch these young people where they're not going to depend on it. And what I'm saying is what we do every day. They're constantly watching. If they're looking at us, the person that's in the classroom, he can't drive up to that same kid and buy some drugs from him. He can't see that parent doing some things that's going to make him depressed, lackadaisy in the care of his home. There have to be a breaking point. I don't want to get preachy in this our conversation.
Go on, but I understand what you're saying. Go on.
With my smaller grandson, just Sunday he has his little way about God. And he's watching the adults. One of his friends at the school that he's at, the mother told me where she works one day how he likes to hug and how adamant he is. I said, well, he got that from his pastor that's going on to be with God, you know, that he watched that. And he watched what I do when I go and come. And so these are the things that we have to do. Even in our community centers, I've had heroes there that guided me out of trouble when we got a little rough, you know. We have to go back to that context. But you'll find again, everybody wants something done about it, but nobody wants to do anything. Just if you would take time for these little things, even with the guidance of shopping and showing money when you go into the grocery store, giving them allowances and showing them how to manage. It's not about that big, quick, fast money that they constantly are seeing because they don't know. They don't understand the consequences that come from that type of activity. The violence among them is at an all-time high. Because they're trying to find a family that's not family. Getting with a certain group and taking someone's car, or just, I hear the initiation is just jumping on each other, seeing who can take the most licks, those type of things. There are many, many, many groups, and these groups have taken youthful offenders into adulthood life, and they have the same type of things. The television stations, they air these type things last night. In my preparation, I couldn't sleep in my preparation, looking at a show that shows this gang type activity. If we remove that activity and go back into the home and create some spiritual, moralistic citizenship, that will be the hope for our future generation.
And that is not a charge, Reverend, that you're giving to the young people. That's a charge in a real sense that you're giving to the older people. Would that be correct in saying
that?
Because
right. That's exactly
which is to say that we are still our worst enemies unless we can deal with these children.
That's right. That's right. They have shown the military and the conditions that they're in, that this type of negative behavior is even to show up in that particular realm. And they have their ways of dealing with such things to keep the men focused there. But that's how dangerous it's beginning to get. That's how dangerous it's beginning to get. That there have to be someone teaching, as I said, in my realm of work, and even in my vocational work, that you have to learn to listen to some form of authority figure. And you have to learn to listen to someone that is of the wisdom, and that is someone getting in their years. I'm kind of hitting on my beard a little bit now, to teach you and tell you about some of the things that you haven't even seen yet. Their lives are cutting short. I've been in that realm also of saying rights before burials and words of comfort to the family.
A lot of young people that ought to still be here, but they are no longer here simply because something that was inconsequential at the time that it happened. But
that's exactly right. Started out just a little fun, and it turned into something that became a nightmare for them. Things that they would like to undo. I've seen them go through many, many changes in their mind and in their little hearts, trying to remove that sting of whatever happened that they wish they could erase it, but you can't change that. So now here are the consequences of you away from your family. You've got someone telling you when to get up and go eat, when to go to bed, when to watch television even, when to play, etc. But that is a form of structure that the government and our citizenship and the state and the federal government have to provide. And we have to be very adamant about their rights also. If you're going to teach school, teach school. You ought to be mature enough to have an affair with someone of your own peers, and all of these different things begin to surface, shootings in school and so forth. You have to have a safe environment. That is the primary goal, to have a safe environment to nurture and teach and guide young people.
Well, no, we're ending and growing near the end of this show for today, Reverend Murphy, but I simply want to thank you for bringing that perspective. I think it's something that we often talk about, but in terms of the way that you've laid it out this morning, I think that we all can see that it is a real possibility of being able to change this thing around. But we can't change it around unless we can influence these young people. And the best way to influence these young people is to have some relationship with them. And the best way to do that is with, I'm sure that you would agree with, is LOVE. That is, and I think that that's essentially what you were talking about all during the conversation. That is that when you talk about dealing with them and et cetera, no matter what it is, however the activity might be, if it's based upon LOVE, you see, that for God so loved the world, and so that you so love them, and et cetera, and they can determine, they can see that. And once they see that you have that kind of love for them, then they'll go the distance for you. I know I've dealt with a large number of them myself. As a matter of fact, I might also say, Reverend, that I was probably one of those that was sort of mentored out of those kinds of situations, and except many of us were, and many of us have been. And so we simply want to thank you for bringing by that excellent information for us this morning. And of course, let me also encourage our audience to tune in again next week for another informative edition of Comments. Thank you and good night.